I had a lot of dark times, many dark times. And I'm the way I am now. I think that this person was probably buried in there, no pun intended, by all of the death that I witnessed. And listen, I'm no superstar. There are superstars out there that are still doing this job, even as we're chatting right now, Julian. There are people that are doing what I did. It never stops. Death never stops. It never pauses. And you have to deal with it in your own way. Most people there are exceptions. I think I was an exception. I stayed with it for 2 decades. But there are some people that can't go beyond about 7 years because, people, most of the time I found that, as in many areas of life, death investigation is greatly influenced by the entertainment media. They have this idea of what we do and who we are. And of course that's not the reality. We do everything, and I certainly did many things, as a death investigator, everything from responding to scenes and, doing my own investigation as an adjunct to whatever the police were doing. Then going back, working in the morgue, participating in over 7,000 autopsies over the course of my career. And then the other big thing that I think people believe that law enforcement does is notify families. And I made close to 2,000 in-person death notifications. So, and it's a skill set that you develop. And trust me, the last one was just as bad as the first one.
2,000?
Yeah, it just never gets easier. Never gets easy. Sometimes you have to do it, which I absolutely despise. You have to do it over the phone. You try to reach out and find a local law enforcement agency to go to the home, say, make them call me or have them hang on the line. You stand there with them as I tell them over the phone. I have to guarantee that individual has been notified. And then, you begin to count up all the ones that you go and you visit homes and you make those notifications. And it's a skill set that you develop. It's not a muscle that you use a lot outside of that context. I've had to deal with high stress situations, obviously in my personal life. And I think that kind of equipped me for some of that because I knew that, it would come to an end. And, there's nothing you can do to assuage a family. No. After you've told them this, it's almost like you pull the pin on a grenade and throw it into a room and close the door behind you. A total stranger, mind you, that does this. And you've just wrecked their life. Certainly at that moment in time, because it comes out of the blue. They didn't expect this to happen. You don't know these people. You don't know them. I don't wish people ill will. It's not my intention to do that, but someone has to do it. And I found, obviously, through my own experience, that the best way to do it is not to hem and haw about it. You have to get right to it because people are always keyed up. They're keyed up anyway. You badge them. When you show up at the door, they know that no one generally shows up at their door with a badge and they're bringing great tidings. So you get right to it. And because there's nothing you can do to stem the gnashing of teeth and the rending of clothing and everything else that goes on that accompanies that task.
Yeah, I had Laura Spalding in here. You're just kind of making me think of her a little bit as well. She runs the company Crime Scene Cleanup, which is now in, I think, like 46 states or something like that. But she was a cop, and she sometimes was required at these various homicides to deal with the family or inform them. And what struck her early on was, maybe it was one of her first times doing it, the family, or at some point, a family member asked, "So who you sending to clean this up?"
Yeah.
And she looked at him, and she had never really thought about it, but she's like, "Oh, we don't send anybody. Right. That's on you." And so, you're coming on to sometimes, as you've described some scenes earlier, like these brutal scenes in a place that you have great memories of, potentially, as a family member, and they're forced to clean it up. And I think people like you and Laura, in a lot of ways, could qualify without an education for being some level of a psychiatrist, because you have seen the most vulnerable, intense moments over and over and over again from so many people across so many different backgrounds. You do. And that's an interesting insight. I was talking to somebody not too long ago about, how you hear a lot about the stages of grief that people go through. It's, and they are real. You get denial and anger and all these other things that come along with it. It's really weird when you first make a notification to a family, you will see those stages played out almost in a microcosm, like a millisecond, where you'll have this reaction, this immediate reaction, and it spans. And that's evidenced for me because I've had a variety of different responses from people. I've been attacked. I had one lady actually fall on the floor, grab my ankle, and bite my leg. That was a curious position to be in. Thank you for watching the video, guys. Please hit that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.